Hello, everybody watching on Pivot Shift Ahead. It's your friend James Shaw. Thanks for being here. Hope you're having a great day. I'm excited because we're going to talk about something that you probably don't talk about enough. And if you don't study and learn about and do a handful of basic things right, it can cause you some major headache and major problem. And that is money and finances. And I'm excited to have Todd with me today, Todd, you're passionate about this. So I'm excited to have you on. Would you introduce yourself to everybody? Not everybody knows you, so introduce yourself to us.
Well, first of all, thanks, James, for inviting me on. I'm really excited about doing this. So my name is Todd Butzer, and I got into real estate in '82, a long time ago. Interest rates were stupid, of course. And fast forward a long way, I got involved with Keller Williams in the early 2000s. I am a member of the Master Faculty. I'm an investor in a couple of regions. And that's about enough. So,
well, and you're just an all-around good guy, and you, like I said, are passionate about helping agents understand the financial picture of this. Most of us don't understand it. We got in because we wanted some freedom and flexibility from working for somebody, and we wanted to make a lot of money. And then sometimes we make a lot of money and turn around and we're broke, and it's because we're making some mistakes. You actually started a podcast called Get the Money Right. Tell people about that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So, Get the Money Right was one of those things, James, where, I'd see you at a convention and I'd say, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. Well, I talked about it for a long, long time and finally got around to doing it. And it's been a passion of mine for a long, long time because, first of all, to be honest, I was bad at it. When I first got in real estate, I had no idea what I was doing with that. And so I think that drives a lot of it. And I've seen what it can do to people when, number one, you don't get the money right, and the amount of stress and anxiety it can put on somebody versus when you do have the money right. So Get the Money Right is a very informal discussion around money. And we try to keep the episode about a few of them go a little longer. I interviewed my good friend Bob Kalinsky, who you know, and that one went a little bit longer, but I just wanted more time with Bob. So, but in general, or less, and we talk everything from just some myths around money to setting up your business entities, to separating your money in your accounts. We interviewed a certified financial planner. We've interviewed a CPA. We've interviewed megas who have gone from not getting the money right, James, to getting the money right and what that's done for their families and for their lives. So, and we release them every single Monday, and they're really pretty simple, very informal. There's a way to get on through social media and ask us questions, things like that.
That's great. Well, it's really common for agents to make financial mistakes. I've seen it. You've seen it. I've made them, and so many people have. I always joke when I'm in a room. Okay, there's 200 people here today, so that means there's 190 of you that have had some issue with the IRS, right? I mean, we've always got some sort of issue. So, in Shift, Gary and Jay and Dave do the chapter 2 is all about expenses and money, and they talk about that. He says, the truth is there's never a good time to nod off and violate the fundamentals of finance. Always think financially awake and alert. That is what long-term successful business people do. And yet we're not taught about it. This is not something we talk about. And again, a lot of people come from another field. What are some core messages around finance and running it like a business that you think agents need to hear right now?
Well, and first of all, going back to that comment from Shift with those three brilliant gentlemen who wrote that, it's exactly right. And what happens is, as entrepreneurs, we get so busy being entrepreneurial and just doing what we do that we fail to look at this part, and it just catches up in a very, very nasty way. So what are some key things to think about? First of all, at this time of year, as we're moving into the 1st of September now, as you and I are recording this, James, a good test for us would be this. Where are we with our tax due for 2022? Because here's where we should be. And again, there's no judgment. No one's bad, but here's where we should be. Right now, for 2022, we are only 2 weeks away from being 3/4 paid up on our tax due for this year. Now, I did a survey of about 800 agents a few years ago at this exact same time of year. And those that responded, 2/3 had not yet paid any tax this year. 25% had not paid any tax from the previous year. Now, what's interesting about that, of course, no one's coming to your house, no one's knocking on your door saying you got to give us money. But what they are doing is they're charging you more. And what's interesting is we didn't want to pay it in the beginning, but now we have to pay more for it. And so a really good test as to how we're doing with getting the money right, so to speak, James, would be, are we 2 weeks away from being 3/4 paid for this year? See, taxes are not due next April. They're due this coming January. That's when they're due. And the return is due in April, and you can extend the return to October. And people sometimes take that and think, well, I can extend the amount I pay. But that's not true. Right. So what's happening is we're accruing interest and penalties. So a very first big checkoff, James, would be taxes. Where are we?
All right. So, and again, this is not an uncommon thing in the real estate world for agents to have some sort of, either they've made a tax mistake or they've got some kind of tax issue. Mm-hmm. And I love that you're not in judgment about it. I'm not in judgment about it. But what advice would you give to the person that is sitting here going, look, I'm filed my 2021 taxes yet and paid those, let alone even think about 2022. What instant advice would you give them to kind of make them feel a little bit better and know what to do so that then they can prepare for next year?
Yeah, so that's already done. We already did the error, so to speak. So let's get correct about it right now. So the very first thing to do is to begin separating your money on the very next commission check. And what I mean by that is, if a commission check comes in for $10,000, and let's say that your company dollar, your broker has already been paid out of that. So that's your after cost of sale, if you will. Okay. Now we've got, let's say, a commission check of $10,000, right? We're going to leave 30% or so in a business checking account, which we can talk about later, but we're going to leave 30% in there, not for taxes. That 30% is for ongoing expenses. Okay. Then what we're going to do is the remainder, the 7, is going to go into our checking account. But from there, we're going to cut another number, ballpark 40% or so, into a tax savings account. So let's start setting that money aside immediately. Get that out, because it's not our money. See, that's one of our biggest challenges in the industry, James, is we get a $10,000 commission check and we put it in our checking account.
Yeah.
But it's not ours. So the first big step is to realize where we are with this and get the money separated. Second step, kind of in conjunction with that, is meet with your tax professional and say, look, here's where I'm at, and these days are over. I'm not going to have these stresses anymore. So help me start today getting this money paid. The third thing then, of course, is start paying quarterlies, even whatever amount you can pay it.
Well, I love just do it on the next check. That makes it really easy. Your next commission check, start doing it right
now.
Number 2, and again, get with your CPA. The IRS will work with you. Just don't hide from them. Talk to them.
Do not hide.
And get into a relationship with them and get into a flow. And look, they just want their money. They're going to support you, but if you hide from them, it's not going to be good. So talk to them. Okay, this is good. The other thing you brought up then is you got to start running it like a business. You told us you got to put it in your business savings account, your business checking account. Pay yourself out of the business. Look, I was a team leader for 8 years. I would venture to guess 80% of our people commingled all the money. They were, it was all together and all as one. That's a common mistake, right?
Yeah, it's so common. I did a financials class a couple of years ago, and during that class, we had in Keller Williams vernacular, we had an MCA, which is our chief financial officer, so to speak. And they were, I don't remember exactly how we got on the topic, but they said to me, when we get paid our monthly check for the office bill from the associates, they write us a personal check. And I said, you're kidding me, right? I mean, I've been at this a long time, but that even shocks me. They said, no, they do. And I said, well, how many do? And they said, all of them do it that way. So what you just described, James, is exactly what happens is we commingle. So the step would be this. And incidentally, I interview a great mega, and I don't remember what episode we did it, maybe episode 7 or 8, but I interviewed a mega and I said to her, what was your turning point in terms of getting the money right? And she said, it's when I began treating it like a business. So let's do that. First of all, we are not employees. The great majority of us anyway are not employees. We are business owners. So that business has to have its own business checking account. It has to have its own business credit card. It's not a card we sometimes use for business and sometimes use for patio furniture. It's a business only credit card. Now, what we're going to do with that, James, and this helps with the tax side of it, is we're going to put everything on that business credit card that is business related. So if we're buying a new lead generation tool, or we're investing in some leads, or we're buying some new marketing materials, whatever that is, we're going to an educational event, we're going to family reunion, all of that would go on that business credit card. So, and that helps us because we want to be able to start tracking legitimate expenses, which the government helps us take care of later on at tax time.
All right, so set it up like a business, and in your state, you figure out what that looks like, and you might have to talk to your accountant or CPA about how you want to be set up based on certain things tax wise, and just get that done. And again, don't wait, go do it now, and then start this with your next check. And the process, in Florida, for me to set up my business was ridiculously simple. It took virtually no time whatsoever. And then I was able to quit making the mistakes of commingling and writing personal checks and actually set it up like a business. Then I could hire a payroll company to pay my employees and process that. So I'm paying the right taxes to the state of Florida when it comes to having employees and filing the right forms at the IRS and not worry about all that stuff. So just get it set up and don't wait 8 years to do it. Just go ahead right now. Right now.
Do it right now. And you just nailed it, James, is that I think for some of us, it seems like it's just this daunting deal, like, oh man, I got to set up a business entity. No, if you're a sole proprietor, that is a business entity just in and of itself. So these are not cumbersome to do. Most people can get it done, frankly, in an afternoon. Go online and figure out what you need for your state and just get this done. Talk to counsel to see, as James mentioned, which entity would best serve you. The most common are sole proprietorship, which is just you. The second would be an LLC, okay? And the third, that's most common in our industry anyway, would be a corporation that is elected subchapter S status. So those would be the three most common. And there are different reasons to do different ones of each of those. So talk to your counsel. But what James brought up is exactly right. This is not hard to do. You can do it right now.
It seems overwhelming, but once you start the process, it's pretty simple. And again, having the right people around you, like, we're past the point of you're going and doing your own taxes. Don't be a FISBO when it comes to your finances.
Don't do it.
Get in a relation. When I talked to my person, I thought I needed one thing, and she goes, "Yeah, I don't think you need that. I really think you're better off here, and here's how this is going to work." And I go, "Okay, that makes sense. I was totally wrong." So getting the right partner is going to help. Okay, so let me ask you this. Why the heck is this so darn important? Some people let me just sell some houses and make some money and move on. Why is it so important that agents really look at this as a business, have separate accounts, and get all this stuff straightened out?
It's a really good question because, and I have had countless agents, James, say to me, "Hey, I just look at my bank account. If I've got money in there, I'm kind of good to go." The biggest challenge to this is the expense of it. Mismanaged money is probably, for most in the industry, their biggest expense. And what I mean by that is the simple act of not taking a deduction that's legitimate, that we should be essentially writing off from our business. For example, if an agent is going to a class today and they're going to go watch you teach, win with sellers, and they're going to pay $200 for that class, and they write a personal check. Well, they're writing that check, James, with after-tax dollars. They've already paid tax to write that check. So they had to earn $400 to pay the $200 ballpark, okay? Instead of taking a legitimate business deduction, which the IRS wants you to do, by the way, and now instead of costing us $400, it's $100 because we're writing it off. So the biggest reason, well, there's probably a couple, but the biggest reason is it's expensive, and I really believe it causes much more stress on you than you know. And then maybe thirdly, James, I'd say this, and I've brought it up before, and I do believe it. I think when an agent whose money is chaotic, and don't take this weird, everybody, but when their money is chaotic, they're heavily leveraged. They can barely make ends meet. They're messy financially, not bad people. I believe they give off a vibe. I believe when they go meet a seller at a listing tonight whose money is in order, doesn't mean they have a lot, it just means it's in order. I believe they give a vibe off to that seller. I think the seller can pick up on it. And I think most of us can too. When you're around somebody who might be really, really showy in terms of external goods that they have, sometimes you can pick up on the fact that it's not, what's the Texas expression, all hat, no cattle, or whatever. So,
well, they can definitely tell, and the stress and anxiety it causes you. And again, I speak from experience. It was 10 years ago. I didn't file a return one year, and I'd get nervous to walk to the mailbox. All right, it was every walk to the mailbox was, is there going to be a letter? And then that's when I discovered, wait a minute, when I call them, they'll work with me. We figure it out, and we did. We figured it out. So don't be nervous to walk to the mailbox, and don't come across as somebody that needs this deal. Just get the stuff in order. And I think the word that comes to mind, Todd, is freedom. The freedom that comes with the pause of sitting down and doing this. Would you agree?
Yes. A lot of them have said that, and James, you just nailed it when you said, look, I was nervous going to the mailbox. So here would be my follow-up on that. How effective are you going to be the rest of your day or previously during the day when you're worried about the trip to the mailbox today or tomorrow? How good are you going to be in a meeting with a client, or at a listing presentation, or at a recruiting appointment, or whatever? How good are you going to be when you got that thing, nagging at you in the background? So, I mean, your idea about, look, let's get this stress away from us right now. Let's get the vibe away from us right now, and just by taking some action, you're gonna start feeling better.
You'll feel so much better already. Yeah, it's true.
I agree.
The podcast is Get the Money Right. GetTheMoneyRight.com is where you can start anyway. And then for those of you who are Inspire members, Todd's going to join us on our Inspire call to go a little bit deeper and answer some of your questions. So Inspire members, that's coming up this week as well. Todd, any kind of final last words? I just appreciate you doing this. It's not a conversation we have a lot. We don't do a lot of training on it outside of agent financials. So I appreciate it. What's your final thought you want to share with everybody?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, James, for all you do, because you're an amazing influencer in this company. You've taught so many people so many great things with their business. I guess my final thought would be this: is that you don't have to live in this lane. Some people say, well, I'm just not good at that. You can get good at this. It's not hard. And actually, like you brought up, it's the word freedom. I think you have friends and relatives and colleagues around you that give off a different vibe when they are comfortable in this area.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they're ultra wealthy. It just means they've got this figured out. And incidentally, if you already have it figured out, go help somebody who doesn't.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh my goodness. And share the podcast with them. Get the Money Right. Todd, thank you for being on. Appreciate you very much. And
my pleasure.
Thank you everybody for watching. I think the big lesson is, whatever the challenge is, we've all had some sort of financial issue. Every single person watching has had one or is having one at the moment. We've all made mistakes with money. right now is the best time to start fixing them. Just go do
Yeah,
it. Thanks, Todd, for
absolutely.
being on.
And the podcast is free, by the way. There's no cost there. So,
Even better, even better.
yeah.
Thanks, Todd.
All
Appreciate
right,
you so
guys.
much.
Thank you. Thanks, James.